Winsted, Connecticut. Home Sweet Home. Home Sweet Home is based on a Sicilian melody. Be it ever so humble, there is no place like home. Welcome back, everybody. This is Make Winsted Great Again. I'm going to start with some encouraging news tonight. Last week somebody came by my house and wanted to borrow a sign, Trump Winsted sign, for the boat parade. I mentioned that later in the program again. But when I went to get the sign back, I saw a sign in the yard over on East Wakefield Boulevard that her young son, probably between 12 and 16, somewhere in that area, don't know his last name, but her son has a lawn service, a lawn and landscape service. He can be reached at a number, 860-283-0717. That's not a local number, so you'll have to leave a message. They're only here in the summer, and I guess that's his winter home number. But if you need any lawn service done, here's a kid trying to make some money rather than beg it from his mother and father, probably going to save it for use later on in life, either schooling or whatever. But anyway, I'm proud to present this to you. I told him he could also put a sign up on my yard if he wants to for this year and again next year on this side of the lake, West Wakefield Boulevard. Good luck to Charlie, and I hope some of you use him for your lawn and landscaping. Hello again, everybody. It's the middle of August now. Time is flying by. Tonight's program will be divided into several sections, and I'll tell you roughly what they are before we start, so you know what's coming down the pike over the next hour. The first part will be a slight recap about the origins of the Trump Winsted Party and my running for the finance board. Then there'll be quite a bit about the new yard signs that I have made up and placed in one yard or two and handed out to several people around town that will be promoting, I hope, my candidacy. The next part will be about an email somebody sent me, a joke actually, about a sign up on a major parkway saying to vote for Brian O'Haron on the Trump Winsted ticket in November to make Winsted great again. Those aren't the exact words, but that's what it's all about. Then we'll have a large discussion about the 2015 elections, November 2015, who got what votes, who ran for office, and what the results were. And then I will forecast how many votes I think I can get under certain circumstances in the 2017 November election, where I'm running for finance board on the Trump Winsted ticket. That'll be on the ballot. Trump Winsted, Brian M. O'Haron for selectman. But as I've told you many times, I just really want to be on the finance board. and won't vote much on selectmen issues. But I recuse myself on a lot of those. So if you don't like that, don't vote for me. Next will be a discussion about the Winsted Raggies. The Winsted Raggies have been around for many, 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 many years. They still have an organization of about 60 members and meet once a year. Sometimes they elect new officers. That might happen this year. Next will be a little discussion about the responsibility of the voters in the 2017 election. We will now begin with the first part. Listen carefully, and Trump Winsted, please, in November, if you care. A slight recap for those who may have not seen the last programs. I have set up a political party in Winsted locally with the state's backing called Trump Winsted. That's the name of the political party. I'm the only person that belongs to that political party. And as it stands now, I'll be running for the Board of Selectmen in November. Running for the Board of Selectmen, but I really want to be on the Finance Board. The Finance Board is my main goal. I have produced a few things that I will show you now over the last few weeks after getting acceptance to spend up to $999 of my own money to support the campaign for the local November elections. To spread the word about the Trump Winsted political party that aims to make Winsted great again, I have purchased a good deal of Trump Winsted bumper stickers, and I have been handing them out all around town and in the local area. Not everybody wants a Trump Winsted bumper sticker, but many do. Now remember, Donald Trump won the election in this area. He had 1.6 votes to every one vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm trying to ride in this election on his coattails. Since he was the main vote getter last November in this area, I'm sure that many of the people that voted for him will vote for me. I have also established a platform of 11 planks that is very similar to parts of the platform that Donald Trump ran on for the presidency of the United States of America. With that platform, I have also a list of 10 deportment promises that should I get elected and choose to serve, I will stick by. I've already read those on previous programs. I'll do it again in September. And I'll compare it to some of Donald Trump's platform and some of Donald Trump's deportment promises. The platform and deportment promises are printed on both sides of a 5x7 card that I am handing out around the area and around the town, along with the Trump Winsted bumper sticker. Anybody who wants any of these, just ask me if you see me. I carry them in the car, have some more at home, and I'll give them to you. I won't give the bumper sticker to anybody who won't put it up, because they are expensive. But I will give them to people if they say they want to put them up on their bumper or on their window, on their car or truck. I'll do that. Yup, the Trump Winsted yard signs are also made up and ready to go, asking people to vote Trump Winsted in November to make Winsted great again. They are normal size yard signs that are double-sided and have the normal pins that stick into the ground to hold them up. They'll be passed out more towards the election, probably middle of September, end of September, somewhere in that time frame. However, I have given out a few already. One lady asked me for one to put on her boat in the boat parade last week at Highland Lake. I asked her how it went over, and she said it went over fine. A lot of people that were watching the boat parade burst into applause when they saw the sign. I also have distributed a few to people that I know will help me closer to the election by putting the signs in their yard. An avid Trump supporter who had many signs up last year when Trump was running for the presidency and has a huge blue and white Trump flag hanging from his house on the corner of Boyd Street and Woodland Avenue. The address is actually number 1 Woodland Avenue. It's a gray house. As a reward for his devotion to Donald Trump, his platform, and all the things that he wants to do as President of the United States, I gave a sign. Vote Trump Winsted in November and make Winsted great again to the occupants of the house to put up on their lawn. The sign was up for a day or two, and somebody took it. Somebody took the sign away. I was told by the occupants of the house that they had other Trump signs up in the past, 1 or 2, and they were also taken. So I checked with the state and called the state, which I do on almost everything I do now, that I'm a political party, the Trump Winsted political party. And I asked them if there was any rules against putting a sign up this early before the November election. They said no, there's no problem from the state's point of view, but that I should check with the town and see if the town had any ordinance against putting up signs this early in the election cycle. I checked with the town, and they said no. But they did say we ought to check the P&Z regulations. I asked the town, and they checked with the town attorney and said no, there's no problem. The sign could be put up any time between now and the election. And other signs, too, for that matter, from other parties and other individuals running as petitioning candidates or whatever. So having cleared it with the town and state, I gave another sign to the occupants of number 1 Woodland Avenue, informed them that it was legal to put the sign up, and advised them to go to the police department, report that the sign was taken from their yard. They now have a no trespassing sign and a sign saying you are being recorded on a camera near the sign in their front yard, and that they and ask the police to be on the lookout for any perpetrators that may come to take the new sign that we have put up in place of the stolen sign. I also called the police department and talked to the police chief about the stolen sign, asking him to help in the future. And the other thing I'm doing is giving a $50 reward to anyone who can provide information leading to the people that are taking these signs. These signs cost money. They're not free. They're very expensive. And once we start putting signs up in September, October, we don't want them to be stolen. So we have to start now. We have to set the precedent that anyone who takes any of these signs may get arrested and perhaps go to jail. I did see that David LaPointe had one of my signs that I gave him in full display on his program, Truth Seeker, and I appreciate that. We need to spread the word. We need to spread the word. We need to think big, as Donald Trump says, and keep spreading the word. So, spread the word. Help is on the way if you choose to vote Trump Winsted. Last week, I was surprised to receive an email from someone in town that had this picture. And it said, vote for Brian O'Haron, Trump Winsted. Make Winsted great again. Now, this is just a joke. I checked with the person that sent it. There was no sign up on the road to Hartford, but it was made up by some program that exists on the internet that allows you to make up these kind of pictures. But I think it's kind of interesting anyway. Here's a sign on the road that says, make Winsted great again. Vote for Brian O'Haron, Trump Winsted. Very interesting indeed. I did pass it around to many people on my email list for the fun of it. If anybody else has any other thing like this, send it to me. They're very interesting to see, and others enjoy seeing them too. A joke is a joke, but when this kind of a situation is happening, there are a lot of jokesters around. Some mean business and some don't. The person who took the sign could have been a Trump person who really wanted a Trump Winsted, make Winsted great again sign. Or it could have been an enemy of Donald Trump who didn't want to see any Trump Winsted signs up. Some people that I tried to give the bumper sticker to say they probably wouldn't put it on their car or truck for fear of getting the windows broken or some other mean thing. So I don't give them a bumper sticker. I keep it and give it to people that really want it and will enjoy it on their car or truck. I want to now talk a bit about what happened 2 years ago during the election for the Board of Selectmen in an attempt to put things in perspective. Just to give you an idea how many people vote, how many people are eligible to vote, and how many people vote for each party and petitioning candidate, and from which parties they vote from. The Republicans and Democrats have announced their candidates. Republican Todd Archulowski is not running on the Republican ticket, but he, as a Republican, is running as a petitioning candidate. Brian Shaughnessy, a Democrat selectman, will not be throwing his hat in the ring again for another term in November. And as you know from my last few programs, Make Winsted Great Again, I will be running for the Board of Selectmen in the Trump Winsted party that will be on the ballot in November. Although I'm running for selectman, I really want to be on the finance board. I want to be the only member of the finance board that knows something about finance. If there's anybody else running that knows anything about finance, as an individual resident, probably vote for them. So far, I only see one or two announced candidates that I can vote for as a resident. I've been told by the state that the Trump Winsted Party cannot endorse any candidates. And as you know, I'll be running for selectman. Now let's take a look at the last election in 2015. First, we'll look at the total votes in 2015 for selectmen/finance board. The Democrats received 4,286 votes, and the Republicans received 3,655 votes. The Democrats, who won 5 seats out of the 7 seats, garnered 631 more votes than the Republicans, who won 2 seats out of the 7 seats available. So the Republicans were in the minority and the Democrats in the majority after this election. The Democrats had the highest vote getter, and they were in the majority, so they got to pick the mayor. The petitioning candidate, Scott Eisenlohr, a Democrat, got 245 votes. The total votes cast in that election for Selectmen Finance Board were 8,186. The number of voters was about 1,637, assuming that each voter had 5 votes for Selectmen Finance Board candidates. The Democrats elected to the Selectmen Finance Board, and the numbers of votes they received were Steve Sedlak, a Democrat, 963, Perez, a Democrat, 890, Shaughnessy, a Democrat, 846, Bork, a Democrat, 806. And as you will see on the next slide, Byrd, a Democrat, 781. The winning Republicans were Todd Archulowski with 816 and Glenn Albanese with 792. The losing Republicans were Bouchard, 759, Martinez, 649, and Langer, 642. And lastly, Scott Eisenlohr, the petitioning candidate, the son of a former mayor, Nancy Eisenlohr, and a long-time Town of Winchester employee on the inland wetlands side. He was the lowest vote getter with 245. Well, that gives you kind of an idea what it will take to win in the November election, should the same number of voters turn out. And what I'm hoping, of course, is that last year's presidential election changes things a little bit, because a lot of people switch parties and switch votes to vote for Donald Trump, 1.6 votes to 1 for Hillary Clinton in last year's election. I'm hoping that will have its effect on this election, and that's why I set up the Trump Winsted Party. That's why I'm running on that ticket, and I'm hoping that all the Trump voters that voted last year in the presidential election will show up to vote for me in this election. That would help a lot. I might get some Republican votes. I might get some Democratic votes. I might get some votes from the Independent Party people. I'm hoping I get a lot of the unaffiliated votes, which are half of the voters in our town. Half the voters are unaffiliated, 25% or so are Republican, 25% or so are Democrat, and then there's a small number in the Independent Party. But I really need those who voted for Donald Trump in the presidential election to help me win. A few years ago, there were more Democrats than there were Republicans. I went down and checked at the town hall. But in the lead up to the presidential election last year, many people switched from Democrat to Republican in order to vote in the primaries for Donald Trump. So the number balanced out to about half and half of the non-unaffiliated voters, 25% or so Democrat, 25% or so Republican. I'll check it out again, let you know in the next program if I'm off a little bit, but it won't be much. And then, of course, the unaffiliated voters. Wake up, you unaffiliated voters. You're half the voters in the town. If you vote for the Democrats, you get what you deserve. If you vote for the Republicans, you'll get what you deserve. More business as usual, as they say in the newspapers when they announce their candidate. What you want to do, as much as you can, unaffiliated voters, 50% of the voters in our town, vote for the Trump Winsted ticket. Send the message to the town. Send the message that you don't want any more business as usual. You want to implement the universal platform that I've put together, and you want people to behave in the manner of the 10 or so deportment promises that I have published on my 5x7 platform and deportment promises. for the Trump-Winsted Party card. You can all get a copy of that. I'll get it to you if you ask me. Call me on the phone, email me, stop me if you see me on the street. I'll let you have what you need. And if I don't have enough, I'll get some more. All of you Republicans who voted for Donald Trump, and it's not all the Republicans, many didn't. Most did. And the ones that did are not on the town committee anymore, most of them. But anyway, you Republicans that voted for Donald Trump, you should vote along with the unaffiliated voters for Trump-Winsted in the November election. As I said many times, I'm the only Trump-Winsted candidate, and I'm running for the Finance Board on the selectman line. I'm interested in it because our Finance Board, as you all know, is very weak. They blame a lot of the past problems on people who either stole or borrowed or moved money around. They never ever say that they didn't have the right checks and balances in the town to prevent that in the first place. Now, all that's improved tremendously with Marcia Sterling, and now Bob Geiger, the new town manager, Harvard Business School graduate, successful businessman, who worked also on Wall Street. Take note of that, please. He worked on Wall Street just like Marcia Sterling did. And he seems to be doing a good job on the financial part of running our town. As town manager, he only has a certain amount of power as town manager. He's got to rely on a lot of commissions, committees, people who don't understand finance, school boards, that kind of thing. It's a tough job, but he does have a strong finance department. Got a good finance director now. Got a lot more visibility into what's going on, but we still got a long way to go. There seems to be a pretty good finance department. I say that all on all my programs because I think we have made some progress there. However, we don't seem to be continually growing the grand list. Although we had a little luck last year, it's not near enough. We need to grow it every year for some time to come, or reduce expenses accordingly, tacking the absorbing costs in our school system. 2 superintendents, 2 superintendent secretaries, 2 superintendent offices, and with the town, 3 of this, 3 of that, maintenance departments, that kind of thing. There's a long way to go there on the school side, cutting the costs. Read my platform and deportment promises for a better idea of how I think we should manage the town. Well, we're about halfway through the program now. I want to talk a little bit about my objectives that I am setting, because I manage by objectives, manage by exception. So I'll talk a bit about how I intend to get some votes from the various parties and voters between now and the November election. Won't be easy, probably won't win, but that's okay. I got other things to do. So let's start with the fact that some of the selectmen received votes or cross-endorsements from the independent party in the last election. The total for the Republican cross-endorsements was 351, and if you divide that by 4, you will get 88. So I think that's the number of votes I can expect from cross-endorsement by the Winsted Independent Party, if indeed they do cross-endorse me. And if they want to, I will let them. I'll need the votes. And I'd like to fight for their financial interests as well if I win and choose to serve. Well, Scott Eisenlohr ran as a petitioning candidate the last time. He's a conservative Democrat, didn't get along with the liberal Democrats and didn't get endorsed by them when he ran in the election. But one way or another, he got 245 votes as a petitioning candidate. I'm a petitioning candidate, so perhaps I'll get some of the votes that he got last time from people who wanted to see Trump win. So, conservatively, if Scott Eisenlohr, a conservative Democrat, running without the backing of his own liberal town committee, the Democratic Town Committee, received 245 votes, perhaps I can garner 25% of that, which would be about 61 votes. So adding the two together now, the Winsted Independent Party votes 88, should they endorse me, and the petitioning candidate votes 61, add up to a total of 149 votes. We're off and running if we can achieve this start. This is without the unaffiliated votes, the Democratic votes, or the Republican votes. If this happens, Trump Winsted will be off to a very good start. The Democrats received 4,286 total votes in the last election. They had 5 people that won. Let's assume that I can take 1/5 of the votes from the Democrats, because there are conservative Democrats that most likely voted for Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton in last November's presidential election. So now we'll add them up. Now if we take the Democrats' 4,286 votes and divide it by 5, that would equal 857. If I got those 857 for Trump Winsted, it would be very good. It would get us up into the high numbers. And we still have a way to go. We have to go over the Republican votes, and we have to go over other things, the unaffiliated votes, and a couple other things I'll mention later in the program. This is really starting to look good for Trump Winsted. Really beginning to look good. If we add together the Winsted Independent Party possible votes and the petitioning candidate possible votes and the Democrat switchover because of Donald Trump in the last election possible votes, we're now up to 1,006. We're getting much closer. We're getting much closer, and we still have the Republicans to add, and we still have the unaffiliated voters to add. Well, now if we look at the Republicans, 2015 total votes, there were 3,307 total Republican votes in a bad year for them, where they ended up in the minority on the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance with only 2 members out of 7. One of those 2 members is not running with the party this time. The other current Republican member of the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, Glenn Albanesius, is not running at all this time. They have neophyte candidates that have little experience and may end up not winning many seats on the boards. This is to the advantage of the Trump Winsted Party in the coming election. These numbers do not include any of the numbers from the Winsted Independent Party or the petitioning candidate in the last election. Trump Winsted is beginning to look pretty good with these numbers, better than I expected. There's a lot of room for error here, as I expect, and we'll take that into consideration towards later in the program when we have the final numbers. We probably only need 1,000 votes to win one of the seats, maybe even less than that. I'll tell you what the average was later, and then we can compare the two. The Republican, Democrat, Winsted Independent Party, and the petitioning candidate numbers already added together include the unaffiliated voters. So we can't add any more from that category because they're already accounted for. The unaffiliated voters are 50% or so of our voter base, and they vote wherever they want for whatever candidate they want in any election, and that helps whoever they think can do the best for them in the coming years. So many of the numbers in the Republican, Democratic, and other categories are from the unaffiliated voter base. One half of voters. Wake up, Don. Wake up, Don. Wake up, Two Bills. We're now going to be talking about a very interesting subject that I hope will help us in the next election. I've learned a lot this week about the Winsted Raggies. There's a group of people in Winsted that are called the Winsted Raggies. There are about 60 of them in the group, and they can vote new people in when somebody else leaves for one reason or another. And they have a certain set of rules. They tend to be very conservative, and I think most of them were Donald Trump backers. I just gave a sign to the leader of the Winsted Raggies, and I think he put it on his website. I also gave them a bumper sticker and a platform and promises card. I'm hoping that the Winsted Raggies will vote for me in the next election. They have a meeting in September. Now, they're a non-political organization, but this is not politics. This is business. The town needs to be run like a business, even though it can't totally be run like a business. But we should approach it, and if you read the platform card and my promises on the back of the platform card, you'll understand what I mean. So I'd like you Winsted Raggies to vote for the Trump-Winsted Party. Spread the word. I hope your children, cousins, uncles and aunts, wives and husbands, friends, will also vote for Trump-Winsted. You'll have a lot of work to do to convince them, unless they are already Donald Trump fans and voted for him in the last election. Spread the information around, you Winsted Raggies. Now, the Winsted Raggies go way, 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 way back. People tell me they were on Highland Lake before it was a lake, I guess, when it was a stream. And they've been all over the place. Sometimes when I mention them in my program or in a letter to the editor, one of them will respond one way or another. But anyway, they're an interesting group of people. I think they can help us in the next election. They have 60 members, probably have spouses of another 60. That's 120. Another friends maybe of another 40 or so. That's 160. So I'm going to count on 50 votes from them and add them to the total. Let's hope they come through. Raggy is spelled R-A-G-G-Y, and Raggies would have an S on the end of it, not I-E-S, as many do mistakenly spell the word raggy. So please help, Raggies. Please help the Trump-Winsted Party bring sanity to Winsted by following the general purpose platform and deportment promises that I have made and are on the back of the card that I gave you. Well, 2008 plus 160 Raggy votes equals a total of 2,168 possible votes for Trump-Winsted in November. Now, we can probably win with half these numbers, so there's just a lot of slack built into these numbers, and of course they won't come out exactly as we predict, but we'll watch them closely, and we'll update them when we get new news. I'm not even sure if all the Raggies voted last time or not. Perhaps they did, perhaps they didn't. We all hope that you, Winsted Raggies, will enjoy your annual meeting and picnic in September, where I think you're going to vote, if I understand it correctly, for a new leader. Your current leader has been there a long time, and I'm told he's done a very, very, very good job. Let's hope he can whip you all in shape so that you vote for Trump Winsted in November in an attempt to make Winsted great again. And you Raggies know that it was great because you've been around for a long, long, long period of time. You know that Winsted was once great and that Winsted can be great again. So, Raggies, please help Trump Winsted in November to make Winsted great again. It will take many years, as you know. You've been around a long time. It'll take 15, 20 years to make it great again. But we need to get started now. And you Raggies will be here along the way, I'm sure, when many of us are gone, to help keep it on track. Now, you voters have a big responsibility here for your family, for your elders, for your relatives, and for your children and grandchildren and friends to vote properly this year. Vote for people not on name recognition, not on how many times they've been elected to office but never performed, not on their newness and youngness and youth, not because they jump in the water at the Fireman's Carnival, and not because they jump in the lake on the penguin plunge. That's hard to say, penguin plunge, especially when you're on television. Not because they're a teacher or a retired teacher or are on the Gilbert Trust or used to play basketball. Not because they have a relative on one of the boards. Not because they've been in for many years but never accomplished much, etc., etc. Now, I've told everybody that if we don't elect very, very good people to be on the finance board with me, you have to elect them into be selectmen, but they'll be automatically on the finance board, then I'll probably step down. I'm 80 years old. I don't want to sit on the board for 2 years with people who don't know anything about finance. So I'll probably step down. Now, I won't step down if you elect people that can help me get the job done. If you do that, that'll be mainly the people that I recommend as a private citizen, taxpayer, and resident, then I won't have a chance. I'll be beating my head against a stone wall, just like many people have been doing around here for many, many, many years. A couple teachers, one who can't even vote, has to recuse himself on all 65% of the budget when it's being discussed in meetings. A whole bunch of people that are running for office that have no experience at all, either as CEO of a business, major business, not minor business, like Chicken House or something like that. That isn't going to help any. Name recognition? Please don't do that. Please don't make me serve with John Grappo's daughter for 2 years. Please. That's a fate worse than death for me. Nothing wrong with her as a person. Probably a very nice lady. But I need to work with people who really understand finance, have run major businesses, and I don't even know if we got many of those running. Know how to manage money, other people's money, taxpayers' money, etc., etc. Now, I think I can get even more votes when I hand out my card to all the businesses in town, my platform, because they understand business. They know what it's like to meet a payroll. Now, they don't tell anybody that they're involved in politics because that will hurt their business. A lot of people go around saying, don't go to that business. We don't like his politics. But my view is that this is business. And if you business people out there don't vote for people who can help you by creating the right environment in town to make Winsted great again, then you're making a big mistake. Now, you don't have to broadcast this to anybody. You don't have to put signs in your window. Matter of fact, I encourage people not to put signs in their window over the years to identify themselves with or the other. But you can go into the voting booth and vote any way you want. Nobody will ever know. These are secret ballots we do. Secret ballots. Nobody's going to know who you voted for. So, before the election, I will be going around town again like I always do when there's a budget vote or an election, and I'll hand out my cards to let all the business people in town that I can reach know what my platform is and the way that I will conduct myself once I am elected to office and agree to serve for 2 years, should I live that long. Well, we're approaching the end of the program now. Only got a few more minutes left. So I just want to reiterate that you should tell everybody you can. Spread the word, as Donald Trump says. Think big, as Donald Trump says. Spread the word to everybody you know that can vote in Winsted in November for selectmen. Many people can't vote here because they vote in New York, New Jersey, Boston, other states. Even the townspeople are beginning to leave, and they can't vote for selectmen. So the people who can't vote for selectmen really hurt us because they can't get a vote in. But they have to live with the selectmen once they are elected. So I say, make your vote count. Get as many people out as you can to vote that think the same way you do. Everybody in the ballot box, of course, will vote their own way, and that's their prerogative. That's the law. But you can bring them up to date, let them know the pros and cons, let them know what you think, and encourage them to vote. Whatever the results are, good or bad, you, next generation, friends, neighbors, relatives, will have to live with the decisions that are made in November. And you know, it's not easy right now. It's not easy to live at all in Connecticut. It's not easy to live in Winsted. It's not even easy to live in a lot of parts of the United States. So, we've got to try to make a change, as Donald Trump says. Think big. Spread the word. Vote Trump Winsted. Make Winsted great again. And everybody then will have a chance to enjoy good times instead of bad times. We recently had a couple elderly ladies accosted in our local community bookstore. A young man was the culprit. How bad is that? He was arrested and now is being held for whatever comes next. This is Winsted. We do have a high drug problem, and we're getting more and more lower level housing because people can't afford the money to buy them and fix them up, or to keep them and fix them up. There's a lot happening here that is not making Winsted great again, no matter what you hear. Now, there are a lot of good things happening that over 10 or 15 years, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, will make Winsted better than it is today. There are things coming, there are things going. But if we want to make Winsted great again, we have to elect the right people, and we have to follow a similar platform to the one I made, the universal platform, and we have to have rules to comply with our department in a professional manner. Good night to all. Brian O'Hearn. See you next week with Trump Winsted, number 15. Good night. Thank you for sticking it out. For those of you who did tonight, I know it isn't easy, but I'll see you again soon as we get closer and closer to making Winsted great again by voting properly in the November election and hopefully getting most of the candidates to agree to stick to the universal platform and planks that I have put together and received feedback on from many, many people around town and the state. Good night, Brian O'Hearn. Please help to make Winsted great again in the November election.